Once the Judeo of the world, at the start of the 21st century, Portugal had an insignificant number of Jews. It was one of the smallest Jewish communities in Europe. The 2015 Law of Return transfigured the panorama, particularly in the city of Oporto, with intense religious life, new prayer rooms, Achdud centers, kosher restaurants, and hotels. The same development took place in terms of Jewish culture, with museums, art galleries, historical films, and more. However, the invitation for the descendants of expelled Jews to return became the basis of an anti-Semitic campaign. Hating traditional Judaism, Israel, and the Jewish success, in 2020, Portuguese elites promised that the law would end 2 years later. They reduced the positive effects of the law to a few visits by tourists to Portugal. They accused the Jewish communities of Lisbon and Oporto of selling Sephardic certificates. As of December 2021, those attacks targeted the Jewish community of Oporto, that only certified Jews and not the Lisbon community, which basically certified non-Jews of Portuguese origin, such as Father Jesus of Colombia. One night, thieves stole the server from the office of a lawyer who worked for the community. This woman had never been robbed before, and the stolen information, although negligible, was immediately passed on to politicians and journalists. Thieves broke into the home of another lawyer, whom they wrongly linked to the community because of her surname. This woman had also never been robbed before. Robbers stole the computers of the president of CIRESP, the national network operator for emergency and security, in an attempt to find information about the company of a rich Sephardi. She had never been robbed before. Convicted of defamation and acts of discrimination, and people with psychiatric problems were used by the Lisbon elites to make slanderous, anonymous denunciations against the Jewish community of Oporto. Lisbon elites trafficked favors with a journalist so the latter would slander the Jewish community of Oporto, from its leaders to the museologist and the doorman. The religious, cultural, and social infrastructure of the community was silenced. The organization was described as a business where the leaders stole money. The Oporto community was charged with conflicts of interest between parliament and the practice of law, which in reality only existed in the weaker Lisbon community and were not even illegal. The community was abominated because it issued 0.1% of Sephardic certificates to Russians recognized by honorable American Chabad rabbis. But journalists omitted that for years. The Lisbon community issued similar certificates, and certainly well. Police from Lisbon invaded the Oporto synagogue as if it were a brothel, as well as the homes of leaders of the community.
I relived the story of my grandfather, the Portuguese Dreyfus, when police invaded my house because of slanderous anonymous denunciations.
Police arrested the rabbi, whom they accused of corrupting registry offices he never visited and of serving 2 people he does not know, one certified by the Jewish community of origin and the other by Lisbon community. The police operation was done based on nothing, in the words of the Court of Appeal. The Jewish Museum of Oporto promised to display the names involved in this scheme of anonymous denunciations. And immediately the Lisbon police invaded the home of the community's museologist, looking for the material that was to be displayed. Community communications with international Jewish organizations and embassies were seized by the Lisbon police to be read by the political elites who ordered the anti-Semitic operation. The communications and books seized by the community were returned with the same numbers once engraved on the arms of the victims of National Socialism. An official statement from the police spread the fake news that the community was also indicted for drug trafficking. All this was done based on nothing. 44 French students asked Parliament for the state never again to use the police, the press, and criminals to persecute a Jewish community. The next day, the first signatories of the petition suffered an attempt on their lives.
They slashed the tire of our car while we were in a restaurant having dinner. We nearly had a serious accident on the freeway.
A community leader spoke publicly about Soviet-style anti-Semitism in Portugal to destroy the strongest community, the richest Jews, and the Sephardic law. The following day, she received a false and intimidating official notification linking her to child pornography.
We are not afraid. I lost my family in the Shoah.
The basis for Soviet-style anti-Semitism was primarily the use of criminals, the press, and the police to defame the most important Jewish communities and to associate them with immoral businesses. The Jewish community of Oporto was slandered throughout the world, in 200 countries, and will never regain its good name. Its partners fled in terror, its children cried, its older members were humiliated. No one has ever apologized to the community. How painful the sense of isolation, difference, and vulnerability can be for Jewish communities around the world. In the meantime, Portugal continues to vote against Israel at the UN.